Have a great show. Thanks. Love it. Now, Domino, and those of you at home, are you tired of your pro clubs teams looking like this? Stray passes, mass confusion everywhere, just constantly picking out the other team. You want your teams to look like this: crisp, smooth passing, communication off the hook. You can dance when you score. Everyone's having a good time. Well, this is custom pro clubs tactics, also known as the game model. And I'm here to talk to you this evening with Domino about 4 questions that you can ask your teammates, your team. If you're a manager, you don't have to be a manager, you can be a coach, you can be someone in that team. 4 questions. You can see the first one on there now. Stick around to the end in just classic YouTube fashion. We're going to keep you till the end of the video to find out what the other 4 questions are. But the first one we're going to go over, Domino, is attacking organization. It's on the screen now. And to break that down to a bit more information for you, we need this: the pitch split into thirds. So when we talk about attacking, we always think, right, next to the goal or the attacking third. But what we want you guys to think about in your pro clubs teams is, how do we actually attack in the defensive, midfield and attacking third? And what I mean by that is, so we're looking at defensive third first, and I've got some examples of when Domino and I used to play together. We used to tell this to our teams. So examples are: look for the ball from the goalkeeper. So we wanted to play out from the back. You guys might say, no, we're long ball specialists. We've got a big striker up front. We'll pick him out. Or occasionally we'd say, pick the furthest 100% success ratio pass. Again, nothing wrong with that. But how do you guys look when you've got the ball in that defensive third? And we had 2 rules, basically. Be positive, driving out of defense with the ball, and then always just be available to get the ball from the goalkeeper. Even if you don't get the ball, you're still creating space. And when you do get the ball, you're being nice and positive about it. And everyone else on the team just expects you to drive out of defense with the ball. And you'll see the common occurrence of this video is, it's just making sure that everyone is on the same wavelength. Everyone understands what everyone else is doing. And of course, we've got clips. We've always got clips, Domino.
Always, mate.
So the fullback wins the ball back here. Fantastic work. He then drops the shoulder, and you can see by Domino's expression on the video, he absolutely loved it. So if this was my team, judging by the last slide, we'd be looking to drive this forward, or he'd be looking to pass this ball into here. Okay, so we're playing positive. We're going forward. These boys here, I would say, are just creating angles. Okay, they're creating space for these boys in centre midfield. What happens here, because they may have not had the game model, they may not know what they're doing individually on the ball. We've got some space opening up here. Instead, it comes all the way back. The problem I've got with that, Domino, is we've now put this guy under pressure by passing back here. He's now being shut down by 3 attacking players. Okay, so we've gone from potentially being able to break out down that wing, or him being able to play these easy balls in here. We're just up against it, and we've put ourselves up against it because no one's kind of on the same wavelength for this passage of play, and all that leads to there is just being pressed with the ball. So instead of being positive, driving out, we're stuck with the ball in our own box. And again, it's just making sure everyone's on the same wavelength. So attacking play in the midfield third. This can look however you want. Again, it's a discussion for you and your team. Our examples here are, we love the centre midfielders to have the ball to feet. So no over the top through balls to our centre midfielders. They don't want it and they're not expecting it, so don't play it. When they do get the ball, drive into space. So we purposely go and pick players who are comfortable on the ball and players who have got good dribbling skills. And these points as well just help you pick out individual players who you want in your team and how you want your team to look. And a bit of a cheat one, Domino, we spoke about earlier off camera, was to stay connected. And basically what I mean by this is just making sure you're always available for the ball. there's nothing worse in pro clubs when you're getting surrounded by 3, 4, 5 players, is you look up and the one player who should be available is stood behind his man being marked and offering you no support whatsoever. And it's often the person on the ball who looks like the bad player because no one else is showing for the ball, and we all know that's not always the case. So a bit of a cheat one there for the midfield third, because that should be everywhere, but I think it reigns more in that centre midfield area because you can get it from the defence, your midfield partners, and the attacking third as well. So we plugged it in there. And receiving that ball to feet, here we've got the centre midfielder, gets it into feet in here. And if he was on my team, that example, he's driving forward. Instead, they're passing to feet. And what I want to break this down here is look at how many players are showing for the ball here. And don't get me wrong, the angle isn't necessarily on because he's off here doing his own thing. But they're all ahead of their men. And they're all ready for when he's finished doing what he's doing with the ball to receive that ball. He's got 5 passes on. Domino, how many times can you say that you've got the ball in centre midfield and you've got 5 available passes on?
Mate, play with these Div 10 bots and you'll see very quickly.
And me.
You're offside, mate.
They're just constantly showing for that ball. And again, a good example, they do actually break down that wing into space as well. And on the flip side of that, the ball gets broken down here. If they're in my team, Domino, they are breaking out because they've got license. You know, if you want to do a bit of skill here, fine. If they lose the ball doing what we've asked them to do, you know, you can't particularly have a go at them because we're all trying to play under that same way. And again, it just gets rid of arguments. It gets rid of confusion when everyone's agreed to play in this same way. That's not the case here, though. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a clip for this particular video. The ball gets dinked over the top, which I don't think Purple was expecting. He does his best to try and win it, but they just give away possession. And just like that, instead of being able to break out with the ball, they give possession away straight away and they don't get anywhere. So again, just having those rules, making sure everyone's on the same wavelength, you'll always look like a better team, always, and better individual players as well. So attacking third time, everyone's favourite, and we talk about it a lot on this channel, Domino. It's the danger zone, which for those of you who don't know is this zone here in front of the attacking goal. It's where the majority of goals are scored in real life, but also pro clubs. We see it week in, week out on this channel, and we mention it all the time. Get your players in this area and they'll score goals. So again, if that's how you want your team to play, great. We've got isolating defenders 1v1, just something that we used to work on as a team, and probably the most important one for you to discuss with your team and your teammates is how the strikers like the ball. Do they like it into feet? Do they like it on their head? Do they like it over the top? Decide. It's, you know, a 5-10 second question in the lobby before you get into your games is, how do we want to service the strikers? And again, it just gets rid of those awkward conversations you have when someone's constantly playing lob through balls over the top and your striker wants it to feet and they miss it, and it's really awkward and you argue. Just try to eradicate all of those different things. So have those conversations. And an example here is one of my favorite examples, actually. We've got a right winger here in blue. He can see that players bursting down the right, so he's absolutely no use out there. There's no point for him to be there. Instead, look what he does. Comes inside and he'll come and sit in this danger zone now, Domino, even though he's the right winger. He'll come and sit in this danger zone, and he's very, very, very patient with it. Eventually gets the ball and does what your attacking players do. They're the ones who have got the high attributes of finishing, dribbling, control. That's who you want in and around that area. Get your attacking players in there. And also, I'm sure from an individual standpoint as well, he's a great attacker. But in terms of pro clubs, get your players with those high finishing attributes in and around the box, and you'll get goals all day long. So we're ready to reveal the next step number 2. So we've got attack and organisation, we've done. How do we transition into defence? So when we lose the ball, how does the team look? And it's a very simple one. What we used to do, Domino, is a 6-second rule.
Easy as that.
If you lose the ball, You got 6 seconds to win it back. If we don't win it back after 6 seconds, get back into position. I think the only time that ever changed, Domino, was when we'd be 1-0 down with 3 or 4 minutes left on the clock. We'd go and win it back. And this clip, you can see Orange loses a ball in midfield here. I purposely picked one where they don't go and win it back, Domino, because this is our game state. This doesn't have to be this is our game model. This doesn't have to be your game model. These guys do something completely different, which I thought was really interesting. They actually get players to come back in and overload in that defensive area, and guess who wins it back? It's Orange. Okay, so it just goes to show our way isn't always the best way. You can press, you can drop back in, it's no problem whatsoever. Next point, third point of 4, is defensive organization. So how do you look when you're defending? And again, we've got the pitch to help us out here: defensive, midfield, and attack in thirds. Each of those is going to look slightly different, but essentially, how do we look when we're defending in the defensive third? And again, I'll give you the examples of mine and Domino's team. We used to play with a sweeper, so a bit of insider information. I was the sweeper, Dom was my centre back, he'd be first respondent, and I'd be in the background taking all the glory. It worked really well. We'd also say to our goalkeeper, do you prefer sweeper keeper, or do you want to stay on your line? We had a sweeper keeper. We know that now. It's for the sake of a 10-second conversation. Anything coming over my head as the sweeper, I know that the goalkeeper's going to come and pick it up. Easy as. Yep. If you don't have that conversation, you don't know. And again, tackle to obtain for possession, a bit of a moot point for this video, but that's just something that we used to do just to try and press a bit quicker. But I think the main point here as Domino is sort that defense out and decide how you actually want to play. Otherwise, things like this happen. One ball over the top. How many times do you see it, Domino? The one ball has killed a whole team. There's absolutely no chance of that keeper coming out here. He is not a sweeper keeper. We've got a flat back 3 here. No sweeper in behind. One ball is going to do that. So for the sake of 20, 30-second conversation, it doesn't even have to be at the start of the season for your pro club season. It can be in the game lobby. How are we going to prevent that from happening? They don't concede a goal, luckily, in the first 10 minutes of the game. But they do get broken down with just one ball over the top. So again, these conversations are kind of how we prevent that from happening, because there's nothing more frustrating than one ball just outdoing your whole team and outdoing all your work for the game. So in that midfield third, defensively, examples from our team. We used to screen passes into strikers' feet. I think most people do this who play CDM anyway, because it just makes sense to do that. We've got working in units, again, just making sure we're not pressing just individually. And again, if you want to see the press video and if you want to see the attack in third, go and watch our other press video on the channel, which we'll link in the comments to this as well. So we're not actually touching attack in third, defending on this, because we've probably done it to death for you guys. And again, ready to press for strikers. I rest my case. We like a press. And the example we've got here is our favourite. Speaking of the press, it's Sociedad. So what we've got here is one of my favourite players, actually, Orange. He's already screened this pass into strikers' feet here. You could argue blue and purple are kind of preventing that going into this guy's feet here. So what the guy on the ball does, he turns back in. Okay, so that would have been great from a CDM's point of view. He's turned back into trouble. They should be able to deal with that now. He doesn't. He actually gets out, but look where Orange is again. He's screening that pass into this player's feet, and he's just that's kind of what we expected in our team, Domino. And once again, not saying that's right or wrong way to do it, but if you say to your CDM, screen that pass, and he doesn't screen that pass, it's an easier way of saying, bro, why weren't you there? That's your job to do that. Because if you say that with no context, you're probably not going to get much of a response. But Orange knows to do that and actually does really well. And it's actually not Orange who breaks it down in the end. It's Red, because the guy got so frustrated with not being able to get into strikers' feet, he's gone somewhere else, and Red nips in. So that's the midfield defending. Again, if you want to see attacking defending, watch our press video, link in the comments. And finally, Domino, we are there. It's the fourth and final point, and it's how we transition into attack. And spoiler alert, it is 6-second rule again. When we win the ball, can we go and score? Can we get an attack off in 6 seconds like this Sociedad team? They do get the shot off, but they don't score. It's as simple as that. And again, if the game state suggests otherwise, then you don't always need to play the 6-second rule. You know, if you're 1-0 up and you win the ball back high up the pitch in the 90th minute, are you going to do the 6-second rule? That's something you need to agree with your team. I think we probably back in the day wouldn't have Domino, especially not you, defensive-minded man. But it's just making sure, and I think one of the good things about that clip there was as soon as they win the ball back, they had about 5 players pressing forward, ready for that 6-second rule type scenario. So, because they all know, they're all expecting to go and score in 6 seconds or have a shot in 6 seconds. Again, you guys can decide what you look like when you win the ball back and how you transition into your attacking organization. And it goes all the way around, and that is the game model. 4 questions to ask your team, come up with the best solutions, and I promise you, you'll be winning Div 1 titles for days. Maybe even a couple too.
Oh, mate, get yourself a trophy cabinet.
So Domino, I think we'll probably leave it there. If you've got any questions about game models, about tactics, or if there's any tactics videos you guys want to see, drop them in the comments. Contact us on social media. We're a friendly bunch. And I think Domino's going to do the next one as well, aren't you, Domino?
You're ready for that little bit of wisdom up here.
Yeah,
there's not much of it, but I'm going to share it with you.
A little bit of wisdom. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and hopefully see you on the next video.
Yeah, sound 8-ball. Appreciate that, mate. Appreciate your time. Guys, go and have a watch, implement your games, and I promise you, it'll work. Take care of yourself.